What's up, guys? Today's video will be focusing on recovery. So in all honesty, the most important aspect of recovery day to day is eating. And this actually begins before I even start running. So this morning, what I'm eating for breakfast is a cup of Greek yogurt and some cereal. I think it's shredded wheat. The yogurt is very high in protein. I think it's like 15 grams for a serving of less than a cup. And the shredded wheat's high in fiber. It actually does have a rather negligible amount of protein. So the thing is that the protein will already be in my system while I'm running. So it'll help prevent muscle damage while I'm actually out running and to kind of speed up the recovery process when I'm done. I'm also doing a fairly short run today. I think it's only about 8.5 miles. So after checking the schedule, it's actually more like a 9.5 to 10 mile run, just based off the extra speed work I'm doing at the end. This will also be the last run I'm doing with the shoes I'm product testing for an unnamed company. So I just sent my final feedback in, and I'll be boxing them up and shipping them back to the company as soon as I'm done with this run. And they dry off, and I spray them with some deodorant. That's kind of the thing that no one tells you about marathon training, is that everything you own smells terrible. I mean, that was kind of normal for me anyway, but still, now everything I own smells a lot worse than it did before I started training for a marathon. Wouldn't trade it for anything though. So the cat I showed in the intro, apparently she is someone's cat. She's an outdoor cat, and she's extremely friendly. Isn't that right? Oh, now she's following me. I got 3 more miles to run. I don't think you want to follow me all the way home. So apparently this cat also has an Instagram, which I will post a link to in the description. Back in the apartment now. That was a 9.5 mile run, including the sprints at the end. And it was under an hour and 10 minutes, so about a 7:50-ish pace. And now the recovery begins. So, all done with the shower. Next step is protein. So the first thing I typically do before I even cook a meal is I'll make just a protein shake, like a powdered whey protein. This one's actually was given to me to test by a third party in lieu of the typical protein that I buy. Hopefully it tastes good, otherwise I'll be giving them some feedback about that. Also, I put a teaspoon of creatine in here. It helps with my lift later in the day, and then it also just helps speed up your body's recovery. It's been proven in a couple studies that if you take it after a workout, it actually speeds up your recovery and speeds up the process of muscle rebuilding, as opposed to most people who take it before for a performance benefit. But that's the good thing about creatine. It's all about how you use it. You'll still get a benefit from it depending on when you use it. I just prefer to use it after I work out. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is actually pretty pink. I mean, the rep did tell me it was a berry flavor. There goes nothing. Yeah, tastes kind of like raspberries, I guess. So I'm just gonna cook up my favorite post-workout, post-run meal, which is just 3 scrambled eggs and chicken sausage. Alright, that's egg number 3. And actually, here's another one of my secret weapons, turmeric. So, the cool thing about turmeric, it's used in a lot of curries and a lot of other Indian foods. Turmeric has a whole host of health benefits, primarily being an anti-inflammatory. So maybe about half a teaspoon. I haven't done any super formal research on the amounts that are needed for the anti-inflammatory properties to really kick in, but any little bit helps, right? So that's that. So remember, guys, when you're scrambling eggs, you always want to keep the heat high. A lot of people don't do this properly. If you keep the heat high and keep the eggs moving around, it helps keep them fluffy and it helps keep them from doing anything weird or getting too dried out. Alright, there we go. Look at all that steam. Obviously, another big factor in recovery has to do with the physical aspect of it. There are a couple kind of like recovery or mobility exercises that I often do, but that's usually later on in the day. And as you guys know, I do have a somewhat physically demanding job being a personal trainer. I'm usually on my feet. I usually have to move weights and other things like that around for a good portion of the day. So for the most part, when I'm at home, especially when I'm eating, I just kind of take a load off and relax. And actually right now I'll be working on the next training diary, so that'll be 17 or 18, I believe. Yeah, that'll be training diary 18. Make sure you guys don't miss that. Subscribe down below. Make sure you do not miss that. That one is going to be, it's going to be very interesting, and I put a lot of time and research into it. I'll be filming that one later on today. So guys, it's about 3:30. I got some music going, as you can hear in the background. I did manage to get some sleep. I took a nap for about 45 minutes. Recovery specific sleep is probably the best thing you're going to do. And for me, especially now that the weather's gotten a little bit colder, it seems like my body temperature kind of drops as soon as I get back in from a run, and especially after I get out of the shower. So I usually end up knocking off for about half an hour to an hour after every single run. But anyway, now I'm starting to get hungry again, so I'll show you guys a quick and really inexpensive meal that you can throw together in about 5 minutes. I mean, it's not really cooking, but pretty much all you need is a can of tuna, something green, and a surprise ingredient. Alright, so my spinach is in the bowl. That's what I used for food today. Typically I rotate between spinach, kale, and maybe some other lettuce. But the secret ingredient is lentils. So that's what they look like when they're cooked. You just boil them in water for about 20 minutes to half an hour. And the reason why I like them is about a quarter cup of these can pack anywhere from 15 to 20 grams of protein. And they're extremely high in fiber, so they keep you full as well. Alright, so the can of tuna is drained. Everything else is in the bowl. So you just throw it in right on top. And then usually, just because kale and tuna, especially canned tuna, they're extremely dry and can be a real pain to chew and a real pain to swallow. Olive oil. Never mind the other health benefits that olive oil has, just put a little bit on there. It's just a little bit easier to chew. So what you've ended up with here is a salad that actually has anywhere from about 40 to 45 grams of protein. It's a real good protein bomb. There's barely anything in it, and it's super healthy. So let's see, this is about 45, the eggs were 30, protein was 20, breakfast was 20. Can't do math right now. 75. So that puts me at about 115 grams of protein already today, about 60% to my minimum of 200 grams on days when I lift and also run. Just finished the salad I made. I'll be off to work in a couple minutes. But first, I just want to quickly go over another technique I use for recovery, and that would be self-myofascial release. The self-myofascial release works on kind of the same principle as a massage, except there's a couple key differences. A quick anatomy lesson. Your muscles are surrounded by this stuff called fascia. Think of it kind of like saran wrap. It wraps around all the muscles and kind of helps connect everything together. It's another layer of connective tissue. The only problem with fascia is it's kind of like the really crappy saran wrap that sticks together. So you can get these areas where it's sticking to the muscles, it's sticking to the other layers of fascia, and these are called trigger points, areas of tension, and they're a real pain because they can limit function, so they can limit mobility. They can cause a lot of pain, they can compress nerves, they can compress blood vessels, and none of these factors help when you're exercising. So I typically foam roll my IT band, which is the band of fascia that runs on the outside of the thigh. My quads, which I've had trouble with for about 10 years. So 10 years ago I was on the track team in high school, did way too much running too soon, wasn't really conditioned, and developed two strains, one in each quad. So I can still feel an area in the fascia in the same exact spot where the strains were. So stuff that's happened years ago, it still follows you, but you can work to break it up. And I typically hit piriformis and glutes, which is pretty much your butt. So those muscles can compress the sciatic nerve, which is literally a pain in the ass. I don't have a foam roller here that is at the gym, but I use that pretty much every time I lift, or just any time I'm there and I feel tight and have an extra 5 minutes or so. A couple other things I use is this is actually a dog toy. It's extremely dense rubber. It's almost like a lacrosse ball, except a little bit bigger. You can also use a tennis ball or an actual lacrosse ball. I use this to roll out the arch of my foot and to take care of any trouble spots while I'm at home. So my left piriformis has been a trouble spot for me since about mid-April. It kind of comes and goes. Like some days I'll wake up, it'll be tighter than other ones, but I typically roll out the arches of my feet every single day with this thing. And the other thing I use is this. This is the Theracane. Each one of these points you can use for releasing certain trigger points. So for me, I have a ton of them in my upper traps. So you use the hooked end to reach around in the back, and this way you can maintain a neutral spine, you can maintain a neutral shoulder position too. And you can use the other points for chest. So you can grab one of these on Amazon, they're like 25 bucks, they're well worth it. Foam rollers are like 16, and this was about 7 bucks. Obviously, a lacrosse ball or tennis ball will be a little bit cheaper. How this works to kind of speed up the recovery process, it helps prevent injuries. If you don't have any trigger points, your performance isn't impaired, your joints move properly, everything moves properly. But if you're doing a post-workout, it's best to attack those trigger points I was talking about. Because what happens at those trigger points, like I said before, is they can compress nerves and they can compress blood vessels. So this limits blood flow, causing a buildup of waste products during exercise. So by breaking up these areas of tension, you're helping get blood flow to the area. So you're helping to remove all those waste products that built up carbon dioxide, lactic acid, anything else you can think of, and you're helping to move in healing factors and oxygen-rich blood. So this can also help limit the late onset muscle soreness from my own personal experience. And if you guys want to know more about all this stuff, I'll do a full video about self-myofascial release and foam rolling in the future. And foam rolling and SMR is what I actually wrote my senior thesis on in college. And I got an A, surprisingly. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, I have to go to work. I will be lifting, and then I just have to train a couple people. I've arrived at the gym, and what I'll be working on tonight, it'll actually be what I've kind of described as a recovery day. What I'll be doing today is I'll be doing 5 sets of 3 for every exercise except for power cleans, so I'll only be doing 3 of 3. 70% 1RM for 3 reps. So the whole point here is you're activating the muscles, you're activating your CNS, but you're not fatiguing the muscles and you're not overdoing it. So finished up a bit early. Now I'm just going to edit today's video and tomorrow's in Starbucks for about half an hour. And then I'm done for the day. So thank you for those who made it this far through the video. It has been a long one. As a treat, you guys get to see some footage of me and Gabby babysitting. I think it was last weekend. Enjoy.
Good job, Matthew.
Let's skin. Have fun. You go.
Dominoes with your finger.
Hey, you can't do that. You can't just do it at the same time.
Yes, you can. Did you play this game? Before?
I mean, I don't know. The rules might have changed since my day,
You
but
gotta
yeah.
get 4 in a row.
Maybe push the pillow.
No, I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh.
He's just inventing his own rules.
Bella, please leave my hair alone. Alright, you want to put it in a ponytail? Alright, go for it.
Yay, lots of hair.
Need help with the tie?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, going for the side ponytail, I see.
Big booty.
Oh my god, Bella. Gabby, Gabby, why are you encouraging this? I am never babysitting again.